8 years, 8.2 million rand, and a tender process riddled with manipulation, missing documents and inflated pricing. The Special Tribunal delivered a damning judgment against the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, declaring its 2017 tender award to exclusive management services invalid. The ruling follows a forensics investigation by the Special Investigative Unit, which uncovered deliberate bid tampering, unlawful committee conduct, and a procurement process that failed every test of fairness, transparency, and legality. Officials signed off on reports before they were appointed. Mandatory documents were submitted nearly a year late, and a high-priced bidder was awarded the contract despite clear evidence they should have lost. We speak to the CEO of the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller, Saki, Zamxaka, not just to understand what went wrong, but to ask who was responsible, what consequences followed, and whether the public can trust this institution again. Saki, thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. I understand that some officials have resigned. One have been fired in particular, and some are undergoing disciplinary processes. Give us a sense of the consequence management that kicked in following this special tribunal report.
No, thank you, Oliver. As you say, this is a matter that happened in 2017. The actual declaration by SIU to do an investigation was 2021, and that went on. At the end, they then make recommendations. Some of the recommendations get to be criminal, and the National Prosecuting Authority follows up on those. And the ones where we had to take disciplinary actions, we've taken them. So some have been concluded, and there's two which we've not concluded, and one of them is a case where somebody is almost medically boarded. They have not been fit to work for a long time. So as soon as that process is concluded, we'll also conclude the disciplinary process.
So from what I understand from the chronology of events, a service provider who was meant to put together an event, an award ceremony, was paid 8.5 million rand. And they were awarded the tender for 7.5 million rand, the variance there being just over 1 million rand in overpricing, it seems to be the case. But they were awarded a tender, and the documents seemingly were submitted after the fact of them being awarded the tender. Give us clarity about how it happened, why it happened, and how that's now being prevented.
Okay, so an important thing here to note is that the actual investigation was initiated internally. So it were people internally who, one, did whistleblowing. It went to the board, and the board then referred the matter to the Special Investigating Unit. So you had controls internally where internal audit picked up that there may have been irregularities. So a lot of what you're raising is what then came up on the investigations, where the SIU said we found A, B, and C, and these are the conclusions coming out of it.
Yeah, and monies, have they been recovered?
So that would be the next step. So from our side, one of two things, well, three happens. As I said, this disciplinary processes internally, and where we can recover monies we do, where it is third parties and there's referrals to law enforcement. Law enforcement will take the case, or they will then recommend that we recover the monies from a civil matter. So here there are some recommendations on criminal charges, and it is the National Prosecuting Authority that's working with that.
The SIU's recommendation, or at least the instruction given now by the SIU, is that within 30 days following the issuance of the Special Tribunal judgment, that the service provider, Oratile, I think is the name of the organization, yes, has to hand to the SIU documents pertaining to the, at least invoices pertaining to the services that they provided, to give a clear forensics financial view of what had transpired. They will then work out the difference between what was delivered versus what was paid for, and then that difference will have to be paid back and recovered. What, from your own internal calculations, how much should be recovered here?
So at this stage, we usually don't want to comment until the legal process is complete, because I mean the reconciliations that need to be done have to be in line with what the SIU has found. So we can't put a number at this stage, but I think once the submissions have been done, we'll be able to then determine, and that will be a public process that goes through the courts.
Has the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller done business since then with the organization or its directors? One, Mr. Julius Leni Mikwa, in particular being cited by the SIU. Has the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller done any business further since then with these organizations?
Yeah, not to my knowledge. We can confirm that. As I said, I mean, the matter happened in 2017. And since then, and since the conclusion, because even though the tribunal is issuing this now, some of these findings were actually made about 2022.
Yeah. What ordinarily would be the procurement process followed by the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller?
So we governed by the Public Finance Management Act, depending on the values on procurement. If it's something that's less than R1 million, it goes through 3 quotations, which is in the central supply database managed by Treasury. And then over that, it's a public tender where any individual can bid.
Yeah. Seemingly, though, this wasn't followed at the time. Is there or was there an established relationship between any of the individuals, particularly the head of legal services of the organization, also cited here by the SIU, and or the individuals, companies and directors related to this company? One would have to ask, why were the processes so flagrantly disregarded?
So again, when matters, as I'm saying, have been investigated, so you get facts which were presented. So sometimes, depending on agency, because the Public Finance Management Act provides that, you may be allowed to make the processes shorter or look for a certain specific service provider if maybe they are the only ones who provide something. For example, a Microsoft is the only one that does something. So there are exceptional circumstances which sometimes people tend to abuse. And in this case, it appears that in the administration, there are certain steps that were missed. Whether it is negligence or malice is something you will never know. But with the findings that have been made, at least it tells us that as a minimum, there was gross negligence.
Yeah, and let's talk about one individual who seems to have also been central to this, Nonkululeko Tsele, in my apologies. Is this individual still with the organization?
Yes, they're still employed, so there were about 4 individuals where there were findings on them. So even if people all are involved in the same thing, the facts are different on what their involvement was. So all of those went through the disciplinary processes, and there would be a chairperson who's on that, and they make rulings on what the outcome of the case is.
And what was specifically the outcomes internally, disciplinary process outcomes on these 4 individuals?
Well, one of them, as we said, was dismissed. The other one got a final written warning, and the other 2, the cases are not yet concluded.
And what are the timelines to the conclusions of those cases?
Well, we hope to conclude them before the end of the year, but as I said, some of the...
And they've been running since, what, 2022?
Some of them later than that. But the one case, for example, is literally beyond our control. If somebody is declared medically unfit to even come to work, you can't proceed with that. But those really within our control, either we've concluded or they're in the process of conclusion.
Yeah. Saki, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Saki Zamxaka is the CEO of the Gauteng Enterprise Propeller.